Welcome back to a new post today. Let's continue from where we stopped. Let's remember the most important topics that you need to keep track for the upcoming UPSC Civil Services Examination Prelims of 2026 with regard to June 6th and 7th. So the very first is about India abstaining on a vote calling for a ceasefire in Gaza, and what is actually a resolution by the United Nations General Assembly. Today let's look at some points about a resolution of the United Nations General Assembly. First of all, what's the meaning of a resolution? It is nothing but a formal text adopted by any United Nations body. Now resolutions can be issued by any body of the UN, but most of the resolutions are issued by the United Nations General Assembly and also the United Nations Security Council. Resolutions of the UNGA are non-binding except those concerning UN budgetary matters, while the resolutions of the United Nations Security Council are binding upon the member states. Now Article 10 and 14 of the UN Charter refer to the UNGA resolution as recommendation. It does not use the word resolution, but it uses the word recommendation and says that the recommendatory nature of the UNGA resolutions have been stressed even by the International Court of Justice. Now Article 25 of the UN Charter states that the member states are bound to carry out the resolutions passed by the United Nations Security Council, and also the UNSC resolution is adopted by the UNSC, which is a 15-member body consisting of permanent and non-permanent members. The UNSC resolution can be vetoed by any one of the permanent member. Now Article 25 of the UNSC says that the members of the UN must agree to carry out the decisions that are taken by the Security Council in accordance with the procedure adopted in the Charter, and therefore they are binding. Now whenever a resolution that is not which has been stalled by the United Nations Security Council, or it has been vetoed by one of the permanent members, there is an option called as presidential statement. Now presidential statement is often created when the UNSC cannot reach a consensus on a resolution, or they are prevented from passing a resolution by a permanent member through a veto. So such statements are similar to resolution, but they are not legally binding. And apart from that, the adoption of the presidential statement requires a consensus. Although the security members may abstain, the statement is signed by the presiding president of the United Nations Security Council. So this is about the resolutions of the United Nations body, and what is the difference between the resolutions passed by the UNGA and the UNSC as well. So recently there was an aircraft with regard to the Air India flight. It is a Boeing 747 Dreamliner and owned by Tata in India. Now this there was investigation into the civil aviation accident. There are certain regulatory bodies under the Ministry of Civil Aviation that have different regulatory powers. Let's look at one by one. So the main body that was investigating the accident, looking for the black box, is called as the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau. It was formed in 2012 and it investigates aircraft accidents and incidents in India. Now until 2012 this function was taken off by the DGCA. We have the Director General of Civil Aviation, a body under the Ministry of Civil Aviation. It is a statutory body under the Aircraft Act of 2020. It maintains regulations, issues licenses. Its headquarters in Delhi. There is a plan to replace it by the Civil Aviation Authority on lines of the American Federal Aviation Administration. It is a standards setting authority in India. It also checks the proficiency of the crew flight. It coordinates with the International Civil Aviation Organization. It grants air operator certificates. It approves institutes of flying and training. It also approves the standards and also checks for the proficiency of air traffic servers, maintenance, repair and designing institutes as well, and also renders service under India's bilateral air service agreement. Then we have the Bureau of Civil Aviation Security, which is attached ministry to the Ministry of Civil Aviation, and it is mainly responsible for implementing National Civil Aviation Security Program for the civil aviation in India. We have the Airports Economic Regulatory Authority, which is a body which regulates the tariff and other expenditure and fees at the major airports. Apart from that, we have Airports Authority of India, which is created for upgrading, maintaining and managing the airport infrastructure in the country. The next most important issue is about Forest Rights Act. Now, Government of India has released the rules under the Janjatiya Aba Utkarsh Abhiyan for formation of Forest Rights Act cells in various states and union territories. Now, we need to know some details about Forest Rights Act. This is also called as the Tribal Rights Act. It is also called as the Tribal Bill, the Tribal Land Act, and it was passed in 2006. Now, it defines two people under this act. One is the forest dwelling scheduled tribe and the other forest dwelling community. It provides them certain rights. What are the rights provided for the forest dwelling scheduled tribes or the forest dwelling other community? They are title rights. That means ownership to the land that they have tilled or cultivated as of December 2006, subject to maximum of 4 hectares. Now, ownership is only that land which is actually being cultivated by the family as on date. That means after new lands after 2006 will not be given for ownership. Apart from that, they have use rights. What is this? This is meaning they can collect the minor forest produce, they can use the cattle for grazing in the forest, and also use the pastoral tracts as well. They have relief and development rights. They have the right to be rehabilitated if they have been illegally evicted from the forest land. And also they have forest management rights under this act to protect the forest and wildlife. They can the government can take up their participation as well. So who exactly is the forest dwelling scheduled tribe under this act? Now, there are 3 criteria. Number 1, they must be a scheduled tribe in the area where they are claiming their right to forest land, and also they must be primarily resided in the forest land prior to 2005. They should be dependent on the forest and the forest land for bona fide livelihood needs. And who is exactly the other traditional forest dwellers? There are 3 conditions for this as well. They need to be residing in the forest or the forest land for 3 generations, that is 75 years prior to 2005. They have to depend on the forest or the forest land for bona fide livelihood needs. Now, who recognizes the title rights or the use rights or the relief and development rights of these people? It is the Gram Sabha in that particular area, and then they are approved by the subdivision, that's the taluka, and the district as well. The last topic for these 2 days is about Axiom 4 mission. Now, what's the most important thing about this? That it's going to carry the first Indian, Shubhanshu Shukla, to International Space Station. He is also the first Indian to pilot a spacecraft to the space. And apart from that, we have Shubhanshu Shukla, who's the Indian, Poland, Svalvoj Uznansky, we have Hungary's Tibor Kapu, and we have USA's Peggy Whitson, who is a company, who are the 4 astronauts who are going to the International Space Station. The main exercises that the crew will perform while they are in the International Space Station and which are coordinated by ISRO are space microalgae, that is the impact of microgravity and radiation in ISS on edible microalgae. So what is microalgae? Microalgae or microphytes are microscopic algae which are invisible to the naked eye. They are phytoplankton typically found in freshwater marine system, living both in water column and sediment, and they are unicellular, which exist individually or in chains or in groups. Now, the next experiment is myogenesis. So, the effect of metabolic supplements on muscle regeneration under microgravity. Sprouting of salad seeds in the space, and very relevant to the crew nutrition. Number 4 is Voyager tardigrade, that is survival, revival, reproduction of the tardigrade, species in the space. Voyager displays, analyzing human interaction with electronic displays in microgravity. Cyanobacteria in microgravity, that is comparative growth and proteomics responses of cyanobacteria on urea and nitrate in microgravity. Food crop seeds in microgravity, impact of microgravity on the yield and yield parameters in food crop seeds. These are some of the experiments that are going to be performed by these people in space on the International Space Station. So this is the most important. It is also the first planned private spacecraft to the International Space Station. and it is now to be going to take off on June 19. That is what is the latest news. It is going to be taken off from Kennedy Space Center at Florida using the SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket. So this is some important information about the Axiom 4, the human space life program to the International Space Station, including Poland, a citizen, in Hungary, and a US as well. The last is about black box. So what exactly is a black box? Now, it's an important a device that will help to deal with the aircraft, to investigate aircraft accidents or incidents. It has two devices: flight data recorder and cockpit voice recorder. The flight data recorder is a device that records important flight parameters like speed, altitude, engine performance, heading, and flight control movements. And the cockpit voice recorder records voices from the cockpit, like conversations between the pilots, alarms, and ambient sounds. So the black box will play a very crucial role in identifying whether the disaster was resulted from the mechanical malfunction, the engine failure, bird strike, onboard fire, or even a human error. So this will help in investigating the aircraft accident in India as well. So these are the most important topics I thought I should be discussing with you for June 6th and 7th. If you did, please do like, share, and subscribe, and don't forget to comment at the end of the video. I shall see you in my next post. Until then, it's very happy learning.